Role queue, 222, all of this stuff. Will this actually fix Overwatch? And do we actually need it? And could all of this just kind of be, well, a bit of an afterthought if Overwatch 2 turns out to be a thing? Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I am Stylosa, and this is going to be a discussion video based on, well, some of the problems Overwatch has got right now and some problems the game has had for a very long time. But also now we are armed with the knowledge that there is some sort of Overwatch 2 style thing which is going to be at BlizzCon. What that is, we have no idea, obviously. The rumour mill, the speculation mill has been going absolutely crazy, and I've been enjoying it. You know, are we going to get PvE? Are we going to get this? Are we going to get... We just actually don't know. Is it going to be Overwatch 2? Is it going to be an expansion? Again, we don't know. But I decided to take a step back, and I took a look at Overwatch, and I took a look again at myself. A very long, hard look at myself. And I decided to, well, note down a few things as to how I'm actually playing the game right now. And I have to say, I mean, you guys know I've made a lot of videos on the workshop. I do enjoy the workshop. But, yeah, I'm playing the workshop quite a bit. I'm playing competitive, not very much, and that's kind of it. Without the workshop, I really wouldn't be playing very much Overwatch, and that is incredibly sad. And why is that the case? Well, simply, it's this, right, guys? I've said this probably in like 50 videos before, but I'm just going to say it again. You do not get to play the hero you want to play in competitive, because anyone can pick whatever they like. You go into a match and you end up with too many support mains. You go into a match, you end up with too many tank mains or too many DPS players, and the game's not very fun. But there is that shining, gleaming hope when you go into a game, and that game is an incredible match. It's like, wow, this game is awesome. Overwatch, amazing. What a game. I've just had this fantastic game on Hollywood. This is the best ever. I'm now going to go into the next match, and maybe, wow, the next match is super close. We just went out. It's cool. And then the next game is an instant loss on the character select screen, and then the match after that just devolves into some sort of hellish landscape, disfigured remnant of what Overwatch could be, and then you start getting triggered. Now, in the past, and everybody gets triggered, right, guys? Nobody is immune to this. You could be the most, like, positive person on the face of the planet. You will get annoyed at Overwatch at certain times, and you will just be like, this is so annoying. Maybe one player on your team annoyed you. Maybe just your team comp's annoying. Maybe somebody on the enemy team's annoying you. I don't know, right? It's kind of the nature of these games when you're given too much freedom, and that's the issue here. Too much freedom. Now, freedom is obviously a great thing, but in the world of a competitive game, it maybe isn't. And this is why we always go back to the idea of 222. It's why I really pushed to get an interview with Jeff when I did it probably like a month ago. No, probably like 2 months ago, maybe even 3 months ago now, speaking about what's going to go on with role queue, what's going on with 222. And in that, Jeff said, hey, we've got people looking at role queue, and yeah, but it's going to take a lot of time to make it work, even if it can work. And obviously, he did give us the downsides and said, look, there'll be longer queue times, because obviously tanks and healers will get into games faster than support, than DPS, which does raise the other issue of, well, maybe people would just queue as, like, I mean, okay, maybe somebody could queue. All right, I don't think this would happen, but then again, I know people do like to troll, and I have grossly underestimated how trollish people can be, because I like to play, especially when it's competitive, I like to play to win, not just play to, like, mess everybody else's game up. All right, so imagine if you're DPS, all right, you're a Genji player. You want to play in competitive, but you click on the queue, and just imagine this is a world where role queue is in the game, and it says 40 minutes to find a game, and you're like, what the hell? So, in your infinite wisdom, you decide to go, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to click support, and then I'm just going to play DPS Moira. That's the way I'm going to get around this. And so, yeah. And if it is 222 locked meta, then you take up a healer slot, but all you're doing is DPS. Now, this is going to be a catastrophically bad plan because there will not be healing output for the team. And if we were in a world where it simply restricts who you can play, which we can do already right now in the LFG system, you can restrict, well, people can be flex so they can play anything, or you can restrict them to tanks or supports, then yeah, you would be actually screwed. And I don't think that kind of behavior would last very long. And I think players doing that would get, well, they'd get reported really quick. Whereas now, it's kind of like you can hide if you're doing kind of dodgy things like that. Anyway, I've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but the point I was trying to make is competitive is really free, and there isn't really any kind of structure to it. And Blizzard left it up to us, I think, in a very idealistic way of, oh yes, the gamers will find the meta, and the meta will change naturally, and everybody will be viable, and it'll be awesome, and it'll be great. And of course, that's not really the case, is it? And to see that, we only have to look at Overwatch League, of which every game is essentially a mirror matchup. There are times, well, okay, you can't really play bunker into bunker, so if you are on Paris first point defense, you generally won't see the attacks and defenders using the same team comp. But on every other map, you probably will. It'll be goats, it'll be triple tank, triple support, or maybe you might see one team use a Sombra instead of one of the tanks. So they generally call that Sombra goats, which is a little bit weird because goats is triple support, triple tank. So Sombra goats is 2 tanks, 3 supports, and a Sombra. But hey, I guess it's easy to remember. So you do have little variations like that, but generally it's the same heroes played all of the time. It isn't any kind of variation, or there isn't any variation. And I think Blizzard are finally realizing that, and maybe that's going to push them into the direction of, hey, you know, we really need to look at restricting the meta. We need to look at these kind of things. However, the massive elephant in the room, guys, is this Overwatch 2. What the hell is that, and what is going to happen? I fear now, because I think we may be going into a period of time where we don't really get anything. And can you honestly say you'll sit there for 4 months waiting for BlizzCon for something to happen in the game in its current state? I mean, because I'm finding myself playing less and less competitive. You know, back in the day, I used to play, I used to have 5 accounts running in competitive, which I know was crazy, but I kind of used to do a different thing with each one. You know, maybe one was a certain type of DPS, another one was a support account. Because remember, people would inspect you, and if you had like a ton of hours on main healers, they wouldn't really like it if you suddenly tried to play DPS, right? So that was the reason why I had all of these accounts. Of course, now you can have private profiles and whatever. So, but yeah, I generally play in 2 accounts now, and the way I do it is, and this is why I don't stream the game as well, guys, because it's so frustrating, is I will play until I lose, and then I log on to the other account and play till I lose. Well, of course, that could mean I literally play 2 games and then I stop. Now, before the workshop came out, I would just stop playing the game and I'd go away and start working on videos and other bits and pieces to keep myself busy. Now, though, I can go and play in the workshop, and the workshop's got a load of fun and awesome game modes, but I have been seeing bits of negative feedback about the workshop, and this is kind of extreme negative feedback, but I think it's actually grounded in reality. You get people who say, well, why are you not fixing the game, Blizz? Like, yeah, sure, great, we've got this workshop thing, but you can see there are massive issues with the competitive. Why have you not fixed these yet? What's the delay? What the hell is going on? And that's the ultimate question, isn't it? What is the delay? What is going on? Maybe we've just been given the answer to the delay through the leaks from Kotaku, in that it's Overwatch 2. Now, if you think about this very cynically, if you want to launch a game and you want to have major features come out with the game, what would you do? What would be a massively, really sort of goodwill thing to do for the Overwatch player base? It would be, here is Overwatch 2, and guess what? We've fixed Overwatch competitive. So there you go, guys. Now, of course, there's going to be a bad taste in your mouth. Like, what the hell? Overwatch, what about these Overwatch 1 players? How will Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 interact, if that's even what it is? Is this an expansion? Again, a lot of this is speculation, guys, but it's kind of made me worry a little bit, because I was hoping that we'd go into some sort of golden age of Overwatch. Yeah, we got the workshop. What next? I mean, well, it's obvious what we need next is some form of role queue, some form of meta lock, some form of structure to competitive to make it actually competitive and make players want to work and become experts in the role that they play. I mean, look at Blizzard's most popular game, World of Warcraft, or in the past it was their most popular game. Let's just say their highest grossing game. A tank does not play a healer. Well, I guess unless you're a druid or a paladin. But that's beside the point. You get what I'm saying? If you are a tank, you are a tank. You do not go off and heal. In Overwatch, you are expected to be able to play tanks, healers, DPS, all of these, because you go into a game with a random pool of players that simply could play your hero. And then you're like, well, holy hell, I've got to play DPS. And we all know what that's like. I mean, I cannot play DPS on my highest SR accounts, because that is not... I'm a tank at that level. That is it. I'm a tank and I can play off support or flex support. That's it, right? I cannot play DPS because I know I will not be as effective. And if I have to play DPS, maybe I could do it once or twice, but then after that, I'm not going to be good enough to do it. And that's a problem. So I remember when I spoke to Jeff, and Jeff was like, well, we could do these separate queues where you have a separate SR for each of your roles, which I think would be ideal, because you may be a Grandmaster tank, but you might only be a Mid-Masters DPS player. There's a massive difference there in player skill. So if I could play DPS and it would put me with other Mid-Master players, that would be absolutely beautiful, because it means that I don't have to deal with throw in the match, and I'm actually going to learn in an environment with players that are around my skill level. Okay, you could say, well, hang on, if you're playing above that level on other heroes, surely that's going to help you, and it probably will, but it's a completely different game when you're playing a completely different hero class, because that's what they are. Now, I think that what's gone on is Blizzard maybe had a bit of a problem working out how to actually classify the heroes that we play, because it isn't as simple as tank, support, DPS, flex. It isn't as simple as that, because there are different tanks for different comps. There are different DPS for different comps. I mean, hell, the DPS, you can categorize them into flankers, projectile, hit scan, anti-flanker. You could literally go crazy. I mean, what's McCree? Well, he's a hit scan, anti-flanker DPS with a flashbang, you know what I mean? And a zone control ultimate. You can really drill down the heroes and give them like really minute descriptions of what their hero role should be. And that's where it gets really complicated. And I think the issue is Blizzard are most likely, well, kind of worried, saying like, look, this is a tank, this is a DPS, and we want you to play 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 2 DPS in every game, and there you go and have fun. Now, what I would say to this, and of course I don't have the evidence for this, how could I? I don't have access to any kind of database or anything. But when you look at a game that you're in, and if it does have 2 healers and 2 tanks, and then the rest of DPS, generally, it's actually not a bad game. All right, it's okay. You feel like it's a game of Overwatch. And, you know, again, I said this to Jeff, like, it feels like a game of Overwatch to me when there is a main tank, when there is a main support, at least. Maybe that's the path they go down. Maybe they say, hey, we've got role queue and that's how it's going to be. Like I said, guys, there's a ton of problems with Overwatch right now, and it's a little bit worrying to me that we've got this talk of this expansion. I think Blizzard, I mean, obviously Blizzard are not ready to talk about whatever they're doing at BlizzCon yet. But I hope what Blizzard start to do is, I mean, like, hand over heart, what I hope to see is we start seeing things like competitive being fixed. We start seeing things like the game getting fixed, because the game is really stale with the metas. It's really stale with the way the game is. I mean, when you think about it, you're kind of throwing if you play DPS, really, which is weird, right? So what the hell? So yeah, we see things like tanks falling off the face of the planet. Like, look at Reinhardt right now. He's actually just fell off the face of the planet because Orissa's simply better. And the reason why Orisa is better is, yeah, Orissa's got long-range DPS. Yes, she's got Halt, which does work with Roadhog, and Roadhog is coming back into the meta. But she's got an instantly redeployable barrier. Reinhardt doesn't have that. You know, Reinhardt's barrier gets destroyed. That's it. His team are vulnerable. That's not the same for Orisa. Yeah, I know Reinhardt's is a 2,000 HP barrier. Orissa's is only 900. But Orissa's effectively got an 1,800 HP barrier because she can drop 2 down. And then a few seconds later, she can drop another 1 down. So actually, her barrier is kind of better. And as players got better at the game, they work around that better. And of course, as we got Batiste, which works really, really, really well with an Orisa, then yeah, Orisa starts coming into the meta. And of course, Orisa has been consistently buffed for a fairly long time, whereas, well, Reinhardt hasn't. Well, I mean, you look at, I mean, I know I am kind of rambling in this video, guys. I've literally got so many topics. I know they're all just spilling out of my head here. But you look at Winston and Reinhardt, they're literally, they are not top tier tanks like they used to be. They fell off the face of the planet. You kind of just want to play Orisa all of the time now. Unless you were really going for a very specific dive comp, then yes, you might use a Hammond or a Winston. But that really annoys me. And that really, really annoys me because it's a symptom of how difficult or impossible it is to balance Overwatch because you don't know what you're going to get when you go into a match. And I just hope that gets fixed. So I guess just to kind of go back a minute or two to the point I was trying to make is I hope that what we see is Blizzard fixing all of the problems leading up to BlizzCon. And then at BlizzCon, we get Overwatch 2.0. And what I mean by that is a massive update to the game. I mean, we get a full-blown PvE. We get a brand new graphics engine. We get a completely new, like, not look to Overwatch, because Overwatch needs to keep its look, because that's fine, but maybe it has upgrades in different ways where they can have bigger maps, they can have they can do more things. There's different kinds of special effects, different kinds of effects. You know, the sky is the limit with this thing, and I kind of hope that's the direction to go down. What I don't hope is that we just straight up get an Overwatch 2 and then it's like, hey, forget Overwatch 1. I mean, for a start, we've got a lot of hours in Overwatch 1, and I don't think Blizzard would ever do that. I don't think they'd ever just say, okay, your accounts are gone now, play Overwatch 2. I think there will be some sort of crossover going on. But the thing is, I'm worried. I'm really worried for this lead up to BlizzCon because there's a lot of issues. I think competitive really does need to be fixed. Overwatch is a really bad competitive system. Whichever way you look at it, it's really, really bad. Simply because, guys, people don't care, and there is no reason to care. And they've got to give you a reason to care. You need to have a reason to get better, and that is allowing you to play the heroes you want. So if I could play main tank in every single game, then I would be more inclined to get better at the main tanks that I play. And if I knew I was going into a match and I would get good support, and I've got people who are willing to, because I mean, the communication in Overwatch breaks down rapidly when people are not playing the heroes they want. We've all been there when this happens. If you're playing DPS, let's say, and one of the DPS is now having to play Ana, but you die, and then the Ana player will be like, I would have killed them, and then just as soon as we lose the first fight, they swap to DPS and they won't play support. That's when teams break down, and that is simply because that DPS person could not queue as DPS in the first place, yeah? It doesn't matter if you've got 3 or 4 DPS on your team right now. If they were in a different queue, that would never happen if there was a forced meta, right? This is the thing, and I keep going around in my head, and I keep going over it and over it, and I've played this game for 4 years now, Overwatch, and the very first version of competitive was absolutely terrible because there was no. I mean, I don't know whether you guys remember this, but there was no. You just didn't lose SR. You just gained rank all of the time. So everybody eventually would be Grandmaster. It was really quite bad. And then the next version of it was a bit weird. Remember, we had the whole coin flip thing and whatnot. And then we basically got the version that we've had for the last like 15 seasons or so, which is just. Well, yeah, it's got a lot of problems, right? I think at the start of Overwatch's life, maybe the first couple of seasons, it's not too bad because people, yeah, they might one-trick heroes. Not everybody really understands what all the heroes do. People don't really understand how to play to whatever the meta was at the time. But then they start to learn. And I think from like Season 5 onwards, it kind of became really stale. And Overwatch has been stale for a long time like that when you really think about it. You know, we look at stuff like new heroes, they come into the game, and I think new heroes are fine. I think new heroes do add to the game, and they're probably the best additions to the game that Blizzard can do. New maps, though, not so much. You look at Paris, and then, well, you end up asking yourself the question, why is Paris suffering from problems that Iconvold suffered from, that Blizzard then went and fixed? But they've not done for Paris. I'm talking about the first point here on Paris, where, well, there's only a couple of ways you can go, and you're just susceptible to fire as soon as you approach. Whereas on Iconvold, that was exactly the same until they gave you a different approach. So yeah, there's just a lot of things. And I think like it's been a while since I've done one of these videos where we've really talked honestly about the state of Overwatch. And I think there's hope for it, but I'm just really worried that we could be going into a dead period here of a bunch of months where there's not much going on. And then there's just going to be this massive splurge at BlizzCon. I hope that isn't the case. I mean, we do know that Jeff did say something is going to happen with the events, which he said in the video with me. Just like, watch out for the events, especially for summer games. What will that be? It might not be the same as it was last year, which is good. I mean, just to finish this video off, because I could literally talk, guys, for hours on this, but this is the wish list, isn't it? Roll queue 222, or maybe 114, let's say. But really, we want 222 and roll queue. Then we need new events. And then, like, going on from that, what do we need? We need lore. We need some sort of lore. Now, maybe the lore has been ticked off, and that's going to come at BlizzCon. So maybe we get the new event, the new like a new hero. Obviously, well, we will get a new hero probably in the next few months, and then they fix competitive, and then it's sort of like win, and a massive win at BlizzCon. I don't know. Maybe we can hope. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa from This Is Unit Lost. Let me know what you think about this, especially if you've watched all this way through the video, because I think this is a pretty long video. It feels long. The thing is, I never really look at the... well, I don't really know how long my videos go for. Especially when they're like this, because I just like to have an honest and frank discussion with you guys about the game, because we all love this game, and... Well, yeah, like I said, it's been a part of my life for like 4 years solid, so it's cool to sit down and talk about it. And it's been a while since I have done this. But yeah, all right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Remember, guys, you can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. It's also @Stylosa on Instagram. And I will catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.